It's Friday night. Your phone lights up with the group chat. Drinks at 8, you coming? And you're sitting there, still in your work clothes, staring at that message like it's asking you to run a marathon. Not because you don't like these people, not because you had a bad week, but because the thought of putting on real pants, driving somewhere, and being on for 3 more hours feels physically impossible, so you type out some excuse. Feeling tired? Maybe next time. But here's the truth. You're not tired. Well, you are, but not the way they think. If that's you right now nodding your head, I need you to keep watching, because what I'm about to explain is going to completely change how you understand yourself. Let's start by blowing up the biggest lie you've probably internalized about yourself. You've been told that people fall into 2 categories: extroverts, who gain energy from socializing, and introverts, who lose it. And if you're the second type, something's just wrong with you. You're antisocial, awkward, maybe even a little broken. Here's what the actual science says. That's complete nonsense. A 2022 meta-analysis, published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, looked at over 50,000 people across 23 different countries. The finding? About 68% of people, regardless of whether they call themselves introverts or extroverts, experience what researchers call social fatigue after just 2 to 4 hours of continuous interaction. This isn't an introvert problem. This is a human condition. The question isn't whether you get socially drained. The question is how quickly it happens and how long you need to recover. And that is where things get interesting. When you're with other people, your brain isn't just passively hanging out. It's running the most sophisticated social processing system on the planet. You're reading facial expressions, you're tracking tone of voice, you're interpreting body language, you're predicting what someone might say next, you're monitoring how you're being perceived, you're filtering what you should or shouldn't say, you're managing your own emotional reactions while simultaneously tracking theirs. All of this is happening in milliseconds, completely automatically, using a network of brain regions that neuroscientists call your social brain. And here's the part nobody tells you. This system is expensive to run. Dr. Matthew Lieberman at UCLA has shown that active social cognition uses roughly 20% more glucose than your brain's baseline state. Think about that. Your brain is already using about 20% of your body's total energy despite being only 2% of your body weight. During social interaction, that number spikes even higher. Let me put this in terms you can actually feel. A typical 2-hour dinner conversation with moderate emotional engagement can deplete your prefrontal cortex's energy reserves by 30 to 40%. That's the part of your brain responsible for self-control, decision-making, and emotional regulation. So when you get home from that dinner and you can barely decide what to watch on Netflix, that's not you being indecisive. That's cognitive depletion. Your decision-making circuits are literally running on fumes. Let me give you a framework that will completely change how you view your energy. Imagine, you wake up every morning with exactly 1,000 social energy points. This is your total net worth for the day. And the moment you step outside, the world starts collecting its tax. Small talk with the barista, -5 points. A quick chat with a coworker, -15. An hour-long meeting where you're actually contributing, that's 75 points, gone. A deep, emotionally heavy conversation with a friend, that's a 150-point withdrawal. Easy. A conflict or a heated argument, you're looking at 200 points minimum. Before you even leave the office, 335 points are gone. You're down to 665. You get home, your partner wants to debrief their day, -50. A friend texts you about their relationship drama, -75. You feel obligated to reply to social media comments, -30. Then your mom calls, -60. It's 8 p.m. You're running on a 450-point balance, and someone wants you to go to a party. The truth is you literally don't have the budget. Socially speaking, you are bankrupt. And here's the scary part. A 2019 study from the University of Helsinki found that when people push past this social saturation point, their capacity for empathy and emotional regulation drops by over 50%. Meaning, the more depleted you are, the worse you become at the very things that make you good at relationships. By forcing yourself to stay, you aren't being social. You're being self-destructive. But what about those people? You know, the ones who never seem to get tired. They say things like, I get energized by people. How do they stay so solid? Here's the truth. Everyone has an optimal stimulation level. It's basically the setting where your brain says, okay, I'm good right now. For some, that level is high. Silence isn't peaceful to them, it's agitating. Social interaction is their literal fuel. But for others, the second they cross that threshold, the system screams overload. Neither is better. It's just your factory settings. But here's the real kicker. Even those social butterflies hit a wall. They just recharge differently. Dr. Brian Little calls it low-stakes socializing. Just sitting in a coffee shop, hearing the hum of the crowd, or watching a movie while someone else is in the room. That is how they fill their battery. It's not about whether you need alone time. It's about discovering your specific pattern. All right, let's talk about what happens when you ignore your need for solitude, because this is where it gets dangerous. In psychology, there's a concept called ego depletion. It's the idea that your self-control is a limited resource, is exactly like a phone battery, and the biggest drain on that battery? Social interaction. A massive 7-year study followed over 3,000 adults who consistently pushed past their limits. They called this chronic social override, and the data? It is alarming. 43% higher cortisol levels. That is your stress hormone, literally poisoning your system. 38% higher rates of anxiety. But the most shocking one? A 52% jump in the relationship dissatisfaction paradox. Think about it. When you're running on empty, you aren't really there. You're physically in the room, but emotionally, you have checked out. You're irritable, distracted, just going through the motions. And here is the truth. People can feel it. They know when you aren't present. Dr. John Cacioppo, a world-leading expert on connection, proved that quality always beats quantity. 2 hours of genuine, energized presence is worth more than 20 hours of depleted obligation. So, when you skip the alone time you need, you aren't being more social, you're actually sabotaging every relationship you have. So, we've established you need alone time. But what is actually happening inside your head during those quiet hours? When you are truly alone, and I mean no phone, no distractions, your brain shifts into a powerful state called the default mode network. Think of it as your brain's internal operating system. While you're doing nothing, your brain is doing everything. First, data integration. When you're always social, you're downloading endless files, but never opening them. Solitude is when your brain finally clicks install. It processes your experiences and integrates them into who you are. Second, strategic planning. Research shows that people who embrace solitude are significantly better at reaching their goals. Why? Because they actually have the bandwidth to imagine the future. Without noise, you stop reacting to life and start designing it. Third, the stress reset. In just 30 minutes of intentional solitude, your physiological stress markers drop by nearly 30%. Your brain finally completes the stress cycle without having to manage anyone else's energy. But here is the part that blows my mind. Solitude actually makes you better at empathy. Wait, how does being alone make you better at connecting? It's simple. You cannot give what you do not have. Dr. Jack Fong's research shows that productive solitude builds the tools you need to understand others. If you don't take the time to understand yourself, you will never truly understand anyone else. Enough theory. Let's get practical. If you need alone time to survive, here is your protection protocol. Step 1. Track your social ROI. For 1 week, rate every interaction from 1 to 10. Most people never measure their energy. They just wonder why they're exhausted. Stop guessing. Start tracking. Step 2, schedule it like a doctor's appointment. If it's not in your calendar, it does not exist. Aim for 60 minutes daily. Treat this time as non-negotiable. Step 3, the no apology boundary. This is where most people fail. They apologize for needing space. Stop. I'm taking tonight to recharge. It's not about you, it's about my mental health. No apologies. Step 4, solitude versus isolation. Know the difference. Solitude is a choice that leaves you refreshed. Isolation is a fear that leaves you disconnected. If your alone time makes you feel more capable of loving people, you're doing it right. Step 5, let them be mad. People will call you distant. Let them. The people who care about you will respect your needs. Protect your peace. Okay, I want to go one layer deeper because there's something beneath all of this realize that nobody wants to say out loud. In our culture, your worth is measured by your availability. If you're always available, always saying yes, always showing up, you're labeled valuable. But if you say no, if you need space, if you prioritize your own restoration, you're called selfish. But here is what that equation actually does. It extracts maximum value from you while giving you zero space to exist as a human being. Think about it. Who benefits when you never take alone time? Not you. You're running on fumes. The system benefits. The people who want things from you benefit. Look, I'm not being cynical. Most people aren't trying to drain you, but we've all been socialized to expect constant access to each other. But here's the truth that most people miss. Taking alone time is not selfish. It is an act of self-respect in a world that profits from your depletion. When you honor your solitude, you are making a statement. You're saying, my internal world matters. My relationship with myself is just as important as my relationship with you. Your mental health is not a luxury. It is your foundation. If you're someone who needs time alone to recharge, I need you to hear this clearly. You are not broken. You are not antisocial, and you are not failing at being human. In fact, you're actually more honest about your needs than most people. You're mature enough to know that you cannot pour from an empty cup. The world will keep demanding your presence. People will keep having opinions about how available you should be. There will always be voices telling you that your need for solitude is a problem to fix. It's not. It is your brain protecting you from cognitive collapse. It is your nervous system maintaining balance. So protect your alone time unapologetically, consistently, fiercely, because the relationship you have with yourself, that foundation you build in the quiet, that is where everything else begins. And when that foundation is strong, you show up to every relationship as your truest, most present self. That's not selfish. It's sustainable. That's not isolation. It's integration. That's not running away from people. It's running toward yourself. If this resonated, drop a comment below and tell me one way you're going to protect your alone time this week. They're just honest about how being human actually works. See you in the next one.